if you actually want to go out and get 50K a month and just like straight production, I think anybody could do it. I had no doubt that if you truly wanted it and you would plug in and you would do the work and you would invest in yourself. And dude, I had honestly met some of the top producers at the company, and respectfully, wildly unimpressive individuals. I just couldn't grasp that this dude, you're telling me he is gross selling 400 a year. There's no way I can't figure out how to do it.
It's cool hearing that story, because I think a lot of agents struggle and fall into that spot, but people a lot of times won't make it out of that. What kept you going in that time?
I've been so used to like, if you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not going to make it. I've never been good enough to do anything big. And I was like, this is my one chance that doesn't require innate skill set, that I could actually do something with my life. Why not just push through a little bit?
What are you doing right now? Like you said, you did 90K like that month. Like what are you doing on average now? What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Life Insurance Telesales Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Nitafan, and we got our co-host, Austin Mitchell, coming in. What's going on, man?
What's up, bro? Glad to be on another one.
We're back, baby, and we're back with a huge monster producer, not just a monster producer, but also an agency builder. And this dude, I was just telling him off recording, dude does not miss on any cylinder, that's for sure. So, dude, what are you not training for nowadays, Easton?
Well, I am not doing any powerlifting stuff because I want to keep my back in place, and I'm extremely weak individual when it comes to that stuff. But I like to just, I don't know, dude. I like all the active stuff. Keeps it's fun. This running stuff is pretty. I haven't ran much. I did college track, but I was a jumper, so
Oh, really?
only got to do like 100 feet at a time, dude. So it's been a slight adjustment from that, and now I'm
Yeah.
a lot older now, but it's fun.
Dude, so you're doing a ton of different things. And I would definitely want to go into your story a little bit here in a second, but like, how do you balance doing all the things that you're doing right now? Like what are some like things that you could, like, you're doing so much. So how do you like keep track of everything and still stay like productive in all areas of that?
Well, a lot of it came from like in the early days, it was my balance was working every day. I wasn't taking like super good care of myself. I didn't spend time like with my now wife very much. It was about the grind for a couple years, and all that stuff was pretty intentional so that I could make like gentle adjustments over that couple year span, where now I've got like a really, I mean, just like a regimented plan. It's my whole calendar is block scheduling. So I have like my morning 3:30 to 7, then my 8 to 11 block, a 1 to 4, and a 5 to 8. And I have that all scheduled out every day from different stuff that I need to get done throughout the day. So that's actually productive working hours. And then I can still do all my like my workout stuff that we were talking about. I can get all that stuff done in the morning over a couple hour span. And then I have the whole day to be productive working. So, the hours went from, trying to do 90 to 100 plus and all work focused. So the hours are still the same every week, but now I have also specific times like, hey, on Friday, this is the time where me and my wife get to do shit. Hey, on Sunday, this is going to be, I'm going to take like the inbound calls I need to. And like, if I have a couple of mandatory training calls with our new agents, like in the morning, I'll knock them out. But dude, I try to like have Sunday as it's a day where I can really hang out with my wife and do some work related stuff, but it's not this 12-hour thing anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that like training for all the stuff that you do and all the fitness stuff that you're into, like has that bled back into your business and helped you be more productive in a shorter amount of time? Or
Yeah, dude, I'm super lucky. I would say I came from a family that's just like where we work, dude. They've been running a cattle operation in my family for over 150 years, Black Angus Ranch. So the how I grew up was watching people work a lot forever with the purpose to like live. I don't know if you are super familiar with cattle ranching, but with the exception of like corporate ranches, dude, it's not this $1 billion income
no.
kind of setup.
Yeah.
You literally work until you die, and then your kids do it, and then their kids do it, and that's how it
Yeah.
works, unless you sell out, which no one has done yet. So I've always witnessed really high level of work, and I got my first full-time job for a different farmer outside of my own family when I was 12. It was my first 70-hour week for the whole summertime I went back to school. So I was pretty used to that kind of work hustle imbalance. But now building in the intentional like exercise with clean. I'm not a big diet person. I've always been pretty optimistic that I will outwork the majority of the bad calories that come in, which is true to a certain point, which is why you either are a physique guy or you're just like in shape. So, dude, nobody's paying me to go tan myself and stand up in front of a bunch of people. So, dude, I just want to take care of myself and look okay. It's
Yeah.
whatever. But dude, if I need some cookies on Saturday, I'm definitely getting them. That's kind
Yeah.
of my attitude towards that stuff. So I don't know if that kind of circles your question.
Yeah, dude. That's super good. Like, I mean, yeah, I mean, to answer your question, like, yeah, dude, I am super familiar with like the cattle business. Like, that's what I grew up. I worked on ranches, dude, doing off jobs for different ranchers throughout the lower Sierra Nevada mountains in California, dude, for most of my teenage years. And so, dude, I was
Sick.
super familiar with like the work ethic that it takes, like, starting super early and working till it's dark. And like to preface that, like, dude, it does bleed back into your business. It's like
Yeah.
doing that type of work and like knowing the work ethic it takes to have to survive, um, definitely bleeds into insurance. But I mean, how did you like go from that to ending up in the insurance business? Like, what did that road really look like?
It was pretty unintentional, honestly. So I went to college. I don't know if you guys, went to college, people that did. Dude, my major changed probably like 38 times. I was going to be an attorney. And the main reason I want to be an attorney is because I really liked the argument style debates where, like, due to evidence that I can present and find and dig up and present, I can win. So it was like, hey, it's a competitive job where, my mother would agree I was a relatively argumentative child. So she's like, this is perfect for you. And that bled into I I really started liking the scientific criminal investigation, which is where I changed my dream path, kind of went to FBI. That was my thing. I had this exit plan after school, going to go military, become a federal interrogator, and like work my way through that chain. And because I met a guy who was a federal agent who did polygraph specialist work for the feds, and he was like my mentor. Said he helped me set up my career. Um, and so that this the sales is in everything you do, dude. It's literally
Yeah.
the exact same stuff. No matter what career, you'll always be selling something to someone in any job. Like there's always some kind of, because you're either selling yourself to get hired or you're selling a product, which is what we do, to people that are asking for it, which is nice. But there's always sales in everything you do. So I went to, I graduated and then I moved to Colorado from Montana, and I started working at this giant corporate rental car company. And I moved down to Colorado because I was going to be an assistant college track coach and part time working corporate sales and rental or whatever. And found out the job was like 70 hours a week. So it turns out I was going to be doing a lot more actual, not fun work and not as much coaching, which sucked.
Yeah.
But part of the deal when you're growing up, dude, I had everybody's got bills, so I was no different. I came out of college freaking 100 grand in debt. My idiot school was crazy expensive, so I was dealing with that crap. So I don't know if you know how much part-time assistant track D2 colleges make, but they make like 10 G's a year, maybe. And that's not really enough to live on in Colorado. So
No.
end up working a lot. And probably like a lot of people, dude, I got tired of getting passed on promotions. Like I was starting to get pretty pissed. I had the numbers, I had the results. I was the number 3 top performing specialist in my area in the United States at the company. And I kept getting passed on promotions because I didn't live close enough to the branch that was being promoted. And they didn't want me to commute. So they did me a favor and just like corporate BS stuff, dude. And so I just went online and looked for high ticket commission sales jobs. And almost all of them were medical device related sales gigs. And dude, I went into an interview. Uh, I'm not really a bio and chem science dude, if you guys were wondering.
Yeah.
So I went into an interview, and like the first half, I'm like murdering this interview. I'm like, here's my sales numbers, here's my results. This is how I did get promoted a couple times while I was at the job. And we just took a hard left into medical questions. And I was like, I don't know any of the words. I'm going to be honest. I don't have any clue what you're asking me at all. And they're like, well, you have to sell these medical devices to doctors. That's what you do for a job. So you need to understand like what it does. So I was like, oh, yeah, this is not going to work. And then insurance was the second thing that kept coming up. And Family First Life was literally my first insurance interview. It was my very first one. And I didn't even know what it was, to be honest. I didn't know like what leads were. I didn't understand commission and advances. They just someone said, "Hey, there's a guy selling here that's pretty young and he sold like 400 grand." And my response was obviously like totally not true, obviously. But if he's a commission contractor, dude, what if he's even making 100 grand? Like that would have been double what I was making working for this corporate company, and now I'm in charge of myself. So that's how I got into it. I was like, this is the easiest decision that I've ever made, because assuming that they're lying and I can make 100 grand working for me, that was like a huge ticket that I could escape, be in charge of myself and sell, which is what I like to do at the time.
Massive, yeah.
And that's how it started.
That's huge, bro. Did you start building right away, or was it just coming in and start producing?
Well, my first couple of months, I was just trying to survive. Like a lot of people that get started, if you've never been in commission sales and you've never done insurance before, it's a learning curve. There's just stuff that you have to learn how to do.
Yeah.
And overconfidence and lack of empathy caused me to make some really reckless lead spending decisions early without knowing what I was doing or how to make the money back right away. So my first 2 months, I was not worried about building. I was trying to figure out how to keep my credit cards turned back on and like making my mortgage payment with my girlfriend at the time, now wife. So less concerned about the build early. And I specifically told Zach that, dude, I want to sell and I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want people to leave me alone. Like, let me do my thing. You guys are the ones that said you can sell, unlimited cap on what you're allowed to sell a year. That sounds like no one bothers me. I can sell as much as I want and I don't have to deal with all the management stuff because I hated managing at my job. So it was definitely resistance early. Dude, I met a manager that had a $120,000 bonus for teaching people how to do the job. I was like, dude, all right, maybe I'm interested in figuring out how to get one of those because that sounds like a lot. So initially, it was definitely financially incentivized to recruit and build. Then I accidentally hired one of my buddies from college, dude, and sold 480 grand in 6 months and broke our company's record to Hall of Fame. And it was someone that I knew personally, so I literally got to watch his life unfold and change in 6 months in front of me. And all my role was to introduce him to this insurance vehicle versus the one he was in. And that was a huge turning point where like, dude, how messed up is it that I wouldn't tell anyone else after like it's working for me and it's working for one of my boys. Now I'm in. And that's when it got really, really serious.
Yeah,
How
it's
far
seeing the
into
power
the
of
business were you?
I was fake recruiting like my whole first, like not whole first year, but by the time I was like 4 or 5 months in, um, peer pressure was great. Zach was a monster at it. He was like, "Hey, this is what the adults do." So I was like fake recruiting, to kind of appease him a little bit. And that was April when I brought Jake into the business, and it worked out perfect because I had my first month that I had sold over 90 grand in personal sales right as I was recruiting him. And so that's what kind of like lit the fire for him to make the move from, whatever you call it when you're stuck with one company to captive, went from captive to broker. But that was 12 months to the date is when he gave me, because we hit VP as a team unintentionally. Like I accidentally had hired a handful of people that stayed, wasn't really like focused on it, but it was working kind of. And then that month number 12 to month number like 36 went crazy for us.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like I know you were saying you were kind of reckless, like with lead spend and stuff like that when you first got into the business. Like, could you expand on that a little more? Like, what did that look like? How were your first few months in the business? Like,
I thought I was going to be a monster. I had so much overconfidence and lack of skill early that, dude, I started spending $2,500 on prepaid Facebook campaigns every week. So this was back before we kind of had lead stuff figured out. So I'm placing an order and waiting 4 to 5 to 6 days for it to gen. So you literally have to place an order like every 3 or 4 days or your flow is not consistent. So I'm already 5 grand in and I haven't closed a deal on books yet. And that's when they started like shutting off all my credit cards because, you know, I didn't have any money when I started. So I had 3 credit cards that I applied for. I had one already and they turned it off right away, like literally week 2, week 3, something like that. And I turned on my other one, kind of went on this credit card roulette system where like I would make just enough. I'd have 1,000 where I could clear it out a little bit and then buy another 1,000. But I issue paid like 10 grand my first month, but I spent like 11.5 in leads, dude. So, on paper, they're like, hey, you 10K producer, right? I'm like, well, yeah, but bro, this is not good for me. I'm at an
Yeah.
80% contract. I don't know if you guys know how to add, but it's not good. So
Yeah.
that I did that for 10 weeks where I was just like fighting and they were turning my stuff off at fuel stations and I couldn't get groceries. And I kind of had to like lean on my, now wife to make sure the mortgage stuff was handled because I wasn't paying any of my stuff. So it was the peak stress of my like entire adult life that I can never remember feeling like that ever before I had this 2.5 month window where I'd made her a promise that I was going to figure it out. And I definitely was not telling her how horrible it was going. Didn't feel like that would benefit anybody. So I don't think both of us need to be this stressed about it. So that was crazy. I mean, just no understanding of how the business worked. I heard a training and a top producer was spending 2 grand. And I was like, I will be a top producer, obviously. So that's what I'll spend. And it doesn't really work like that if you have no skills. So that was how
Yeah.
my first couple months went, dude. It was unpleasant.
I think we've all been there, right? I mean, I know I definitely have, like, I heard top producers spend however much in leads a week, and like that's what I was gonna do as soon as I got in the
Yep.
business. I was gonna be a top producer.
Yeah.
And it does happen like that sometimes for some people, but I'd say the majority of it doesn't. And I was definitely one of those. Did you say it took 10 weeks like to really get out of that hamster wheel?
Yeah, I didn't have a profitable week until week 10 where I made anything.
What
Um,
was kind of like the turning point there? Like, what
Yeah.
do you think switched like in the business to help you get past that?
Yeah.
so it was a culmination of like all the training that I had been slowly compounding on itself, where Zach had showed up for me every day. Zach Twardowski, he's the guy that I work directly with. And I had made phone calls to John Wetmore and Andrew Taylor and Mark Mead. So like all these giant staple names in the company, the exchange was if you are working really hard and like showing up, we will help you. So I was
Yeah.
calling these dudes like, hey, I'm running 44 appointments a week and I'm getting like 6 sits and one yes. I have a serious problem. Can you help me? And it came down to didn't know how to build credibility early, like in my introduction. I wasn't bringing my license with me. I didn't understand how to uncover someone's why. So I started setting a 10-minute timer on my phone and I would literally sit face to face with the client in their home and I wouldn't move from the why phase of the appointment until that timer went off on my phone, like loudly at the house. I would turn it off, apologize, and then I knew that I probably had enough information to move forward. So credibility, understanding why they wanted it, and just giving structure of this is my job and this is what we're going to do today. And it was that direct and forward my first few times when John was like, dude, you're already not selling anything. Why don't you try something else? Just say, hey, this is what we're going to do. Does that sound good? So I was like, okay, I'm going to ask you these questions. We're going to shop around, find a company. You're going to pick a price and I'm going to submit it. Sound good? And they're just like, yeah, sounds good. And I was like, oh boy, they just said yes. This is wild. This is working. You
Yeah.
know, so that was like all of that stuff, dude. It came together in 48 hours, and I literally sold 15 grand in back-to-back days. So I did 75, 75, 2 consecutive run days, got paid all that money in like 3 or 4 days, cleared my credit cards, reloaded on leads, and just like chased relentlessly after that to do it again. And
So
that's how it started.
it's cool hearing that story because I think a lot of agents struggle and fall into that spot. I feel like that's the story of a lot of people that actually make it out, but people a lot of times won't make it out of that, right? Like they'll come in, they won't see the success initially that they thought they would. Well, like what kept you going in that time?
Well, I was always following that 24-hour rule, which, it can apply to a few different pieces in your business, but I had made some pretty big promises, that this was going to be our ticket. And dude, I had honestly met some of the top producers at the company and respectfully, wildly unimpressive individuals, you know, and I cannot stress enough that I'm not trying to be rude, but I just couldn't grasp that if this dude, you're telling me he is gross selling 400 a year, like there's no way I can't figure out how to do it, you know. And I also called up all my friends and told them I found a sales job and I was gonna be super rich. So, you know, part of that was like I better figure something out because otherwise they're gonna obviously you can imagine how
The
that
peer
went when they're
pressure, I
like,
love it.
yeah, so some of it was like forced on myself. And I think I did a good job at digging really deep during hard times, dude. And I've never ever done anything my entire life and was naturally good at it. Like everything that I've excelled at took years and repetition and over and over tons of failures. So I don't know why I thought this was going to be different. What an idiot. But for some reason, I didn't think this was going to be hard for me. So then I had to go, okay, I've literally, so my a mini story, dude. So I worked my butt off my entire life. I was going to wrestle in college because that's what my family does. Like every single man in my family is a state champion wrestler. Three of them won high school national championships. One of them went to Nebraska and made the U.S. Olympic team, was ranked in the world. So this is like the
Jeez.
environment I have to grow up around, all these animals. And dude, once I was like 15 and I went to this big national tournament and found out that like, hey, these guys are a lot different than me. Like they're like legit good at this thing. So I fell in love with track and field shortly after that and made this arrangement with a coach that I was going to walk on to a D1 school. And the first week I got cut from the team. And so I got cut from the team. And then there was this huge, that year was pretty rough. I made some really not great decisions as an 18-year-old and transferred out. Anyway, I went to a small school and ended up getting to pursue like my passion. And I came back to Montana and in front of the coach that cut me, I broke his school's record at their own facility, and set the all-time, like I was the all-time highest Montana pole vaulter at the time. You know,
Jeez.
in front of the dude that told me I wasn't good enough to be on his team, and I beat all of his athletes. So it was even more awesome that he was the one that was
Revenge
holding the record
story.
at
I
the
love
time.
it.
Yeah, so that was like I've been so used to like, dude, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you don't have the talent, you're not going to make it. And so, dude, I was just like grabbing onto all these moments in my life where, dude, it's just been my life on repeat. I've never been good at anything. I've never been good enough to do anything big. And I was like, this is my one chance that doesn't require innate skill set that I could actually do something with my life. Why not just push through a little bit? You know, and I kind of dug into that pretty hard, and that really did help me through that crazy homeless phase where we were about to lose all of it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I mean, a lot of agents, right? I mean, we may preface this like kind of towards new agents a lot because we want to help a lot of the people that are coming into the business, and we see so many people failing out 24/7. Like for somebody that hasn't faced all that adversity throughout their life, um, what would be like a good piece of advice for somebody that starts seeing the struggle, like, you know, the mindset to have, like, how do they push through those hard times? What have you seen so far as, you know, building and helping other agents get to that top producer level?
I think once you realize that the insurance sales skill set is you're learning how to say a couple of specific paragraphs in order on repeat. It's not tricky. Like, hey, you know, if you go tomorrow, who's in charge? Got it. What do they do for work? Where do they live? Do they have a family? Like, just talk to them like they're your own parents, dude. Every single person that starts this job, and I know you're not supposed to say anybody can do it, whatever. Anyone is technically capable of doing it though. There's nothing about learning how to literally read and then memorize a few different things and then just being yourself a little bit. Like I obviously am much different now when I'm selling on the phone than I was my first 2 weeks because I was trying to like mimic someone who is not me. So like, dude, be yourself. You have to have some kind of self-belief. And dude, this is not for everyone also, you know, and that's a conversation that you want to have with people before you bring them into the business is you guys know what the failure rate is, dude. Welcome to insurance space. This is the hardest thing that I've ever done in my entire life. And it does take a unique person to be able to push through the kind of challenge that you're going to have. And it never stops. You
Yeah.
don't just get like to a year or to 2 years and you just have no problems. The bigger the business, dude, more money, more problems. The bigger your business, the bigger problems you have to learn how to solve. And there's always stuff that you're going to be dealing with as a business owner. So as a new agent, like how ready are you to get through this stuff and how important is it to you to succeed? What are you willing to get through? You know, and if you've never had adversity in your life, which I don't believe, dude, I truly don't think anyone has gone, there's no way you make it to 18, you have nothing, you know,
Yeah.
like I would say that that's pretty hard to believe that you have zero. So maybe it's not like I feel like I've had this giant life of rejection. And then you read somebody's story like David Goggins, and that person has actually had one of the most difficult upbringing in lives ever. I'm like, dude, how easy did I have it? Like, man, it's really hard to bitch and complain about your situation because you can always find perspective in someone else's story. So it doesn't have to be mine. My story is my story. So I use it as fuel. But for me, somebody like David, as an example, could see my story and be like, I can't imagine having that easy of a childhood. You know, because in comparison, I was living the freaking dream, dude. I had two parents. You know, my dad was gone a lot, didn't see him, whatever, but find some kind of perspective that you can use as your fuel, because I guarantee that you have something you can hold on to. That's what I would tell someone that's new.
That's huge, bro.
That's
I love that. It's good, really good perspective, and being able to like get past that and get through the challenges that you're gonna face, right? And so as you've like been producing, like what does your schedule look like as a top producer? Because what are you doing right now? Like you said you did 90K that for like that month. Like what are you doing on average now?
I don't sell that much anymore, dude. I'm having a decent month this past month. I know for the first 3 weeks I was at 40. So it was like a pretty, pretty good month through three. We'll see where we wrap the month. I'll probably be, 45 or 50 or something like that. Um, I have done over 400 every full year that I've been here. So, now my goal is to produce to maintain skill set, not to produce to compete to be top 10. That's a dream that has moved on. I finished fifth in the company on my highest production year. That's what I was going for, dude.
What'd you do
I
that
sold
year?
like 940. I sold 940 grand as my biggest annual production year.
That's
So
nutty.
I had that year where I got to build like this crazy sales regimen and skill set. So, now I can part-time sell. Like I still sold 440, 430 or something last year. And I sold part-time throughout the year. And then, was focusing on business development and bringing on new people and teaching them how to do it. So my goal is now more to, in my blocks, is like, hey, we probably still need to be doing somewhere between 5 and 8 grand a week. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. If I crack a big one here and there, sweet. But I'm not sweating on Sunday if I'm not at the numbers I want to be coming in the Monday. I'm kind of
Yeah.
like thankfully out of that phase of my business. So my production schedule would be, is it going to be 8 to 11, or is my closing going to be 5 to 8? Those are the two blocks I typically want to do the majority of my selling or book to sell. And then the rest of the day will be, training, recruiting, uh, whatever meeting stuff that you got to do,
Yeah.
depending on the size of your
So
business. But
so what kind of leads are you working now?
I do a huge mix. So we got a giant CRM that I always pull stuff out of. So I've been doing lots of ethos leads, some self-gen stuff on Facebook, Age Mortgage. Yeah, I really try to work as much internet-based leads as I can, because it's the most duplicatable thing that you can do. But you can't mass scale mail. Those days are gone. you know,
Yep.
$100 a lead is
Yeah.
gross anyway. So
Yep.
I'm looking to try to can I get an internet lead between $8 and $25? Anywhere in that window, I'm totally good. You can be profitable on any lead type that can be made, because somebody has to see it and go, better get some info on it. That's the only way we get their information. So any social media generated, I'm a big fan of. I don't care if it's YouTube videos, Meta, Google, whatever the platform it's coming from. Internet leads, I feel like, is the easiest way to like scale
Yeah.
in an appropriate timeline. So I do a little of anything internet related.
No, that's awesome. And then when you're bringing new agents on, like, and so say, like, so when you were doing 940, let's talk through that type of schedule, right? So maybe building isn't your ideal thing that you're wanting to pursue as much right now, right? So you want to do 94, 940, like what does that schedule look like to be able to do that amount of volume in production? And then also lead
It's
spend and things like that.
So it depends on where your skill set is at and how long you've been doing it. So I went from my first 8 months. I started April. So yesterday was my 5 year anniversary of working here, by the way. So I
Love it.
just hit 5 years that I've been doing this stuff.
Yeah.
So from April to December, that first stretch where I basically was zero my first couple of months, but I finished 243, and then I rolled in the next January to December, I did 780, and then the following January to December, I did 940. So that schedule, I ran 38 to 44 appointments in person, face to face for 2.5 consecutive years and never missed my schedule ever. So I was doing this was, this was back in the travel trip days. So you virtual guys are freaking spoiled as all get out. But it's this the concepts are the same. Like you
Yeah.
guys want to track your it's not about lead count, it's about lead spend. Quality is always going to vary. So you just want to make sure, like I have $1,500 to $2,000 of leads every single week as a non-negotiable. I know that's going to get me to 40 every month. That's what my numbers are. And when you're firing on all cylinders, it could get you 50, 60. If you want to get into that 70, 80, 100, 120K months, dude, like you're going to have to spend some more money, and you can't be taking a bunch of days off. So if you just like, if you don't have any other stuff going on in your life, like, dude, if I was 21 and I was not married and like no family stuff, and it was just like, hey, let's just go out and bring in some cheese, dude. I'm definitely doing this 7 days a week for like 2 really hard years, the skill set development, and see how much I can sell. And dude, if you don't want to build, just get a nasty skill set built for a couple of years so that you have full control of your income. If you know how to do the job, you go, hey, I'm going to be gone for this 2 weeks. I know how to go and get 10 grand whenever I want. I already know how to do it because I've done it so many times over and over and over again. Whenever you need money as a producer, that's why it's so freaking powerful, is because you can go get it whenever. So it was 7 days a week, dude. For 18 months, I was gone every single weekend. Like I was home 1 day a week for 18 months. So I would literally fly out Wednesday and I would get back Tuesday. And then I would fly out Wednesday or get back Monday night, be home Tuesday, fly out Wednesday. I did that schedule for 18 straight months. So, I was newly married, barely saw my new wife. And I said, if you let me do this, here's the mission, here's the dream. Are you in? And that was what I ran my schedule in. So if you're by yourself, you don't have to get other people bought in on your your crazy schedule. It's easier. But if you do want to do something crazy and you're like, well, I couldn't possibly do. Dude, John Wetmore had 5 kids and he built a multi-million, like $200 million a year agency.
Yeah.
So I don't, it's going to be really hard pitch to me that you couldn't possibly fathom how to do that when he's like divorced twice and had 5 kids. So I'll always find an example that you'll lose if you say,
Yeah.
well, you can't do it.
No, it's awesome. So you were just booking appointments in that. So obviously that was the face-to-face area. How'd you go about it like virtually now? Like do you just sell over the phone now, or like Zoom
Yeah,
virtual?
that's it, dude.
So
Like
if you were to want to do
99% of
that
my
type
stuff's
of volume
telesales.
from home now, obviously you're not going to be doing the travel trips, but like what would your schedule look like?
Dude, if I was a sole producer right now, I would go I would learn how to dial and sell on your own, and then I would hire a dialer that you can train. And I don't care where they're from, dude. You can get cheap ones out of country, and then you can hire two of them because it's the same price as one local person, or you can hire a legitimate staff as a dialer. And the only way I think now, maybe that's not true. I better not say the only way because someone will say something about that. But if I would say get 1 to 2 people to dial and help you fill your calendar, because think about what doesn't make you money is dialing the phone. What makes you money is closing sales.
Yes.
So if I can have one dialer booking appointments and the other dialer feeding me live transfers on leads that I'm already purchasing, dude, I can spend 3 or 4 grand a week on leads because I'm going to be selling 100 grand all day. So I can spend 12 to 16K on leads and I can produce 100 to 120K plus virtually because I've got two dialers feeding me live calls that are ready and someone else booking appointments and an auto calendar system texting me people that don't answer and a reminder system feeding me people, like feeding all of my current appointments, like, hey, don't forget our calls in an hour, our calls in 15 minutes. If I was just going to produce like a freight train, $2 on an automated system, one feeding live transfers and one booking, and all I would be doing 6 to 7 days a week is freaking closing business, dude.
That's huge.
Yeah,
Dude,
I love that. I love it. I think that it's like it's really not that complicated, transparently. Like I think it's easy to overcomplicate it, but like simple scales at the end of the day. And like if you do the basics over and over and over again, I love what you're saying because people are like, dude, dialing is money making activity. And I came to the conclusion that like you're only making money if you're presenting. So like imagine how much time you're wasting if you're having to dial all day every day. I think a lot of people do that and fall into that trap.
Well, and that's that's part of your skill set development. Like I I really do want people to learn how to do that part because that's part of like building small
Yeah.
disciplines and small wins. But it's the second that you have the cash flow to support having some supplemental help booking, and just start with one person, dude. Like one of the dialers that I hired, it's $1,600 a month, it's $400 a week. Like I get one deal and they're paid for the basically the entire month. Sometimes a
Yeah.
month and change, sometimes I got to do two, whatever. But as soon as you had cash flow to do it, having somebody help build your calendar, which just gets you more deals, it's the same concept as if you're building and getting staff. Like what stuff are you doing that's not making you money? If you say that, hey, on average I'm making 1 to 2 grand an hour, I don't want to be calling the carrier to check pending. Well, if you can have someone step in and help fill your gaps in your calendar, dude, if you have 16 virtual appointments, because in virtual you can run every half hour because people are going to dip. So
Yeah.
every 30 minutes, you book an appointment from 8 to 8, dude. That's a nasty calendar. Like your schedule is freaking full. And it doesn't have to be that nuts, but I mean, you guys are talking about you want to write 1 million a year, dude. So, I mean, you got to strap into a calendar like crazy. So I think that would be the first thing I would do is add a dialer. Once that's profitable, helping you make more money, add a second one to do live transfers. Like it's pretty simple stuff. If you just want to bang, dude, and be a nasty producer, that's 100% what I would do.
That's good.
Yeah,
What are
that's
what like as you're training a dialer, right? So how what have you learned in terms of doing that? Because I've tried that before. I've had other people that haven't had the best experiences with that specifically. Like, how do you go about like training them to do what you want to do?
Well, don't sign any long-term agreements. Don't say like, hey, I'll bring them on for a minimum of a month. Because if they're horrible, dude, like you're out. I'm not saying you only get 1 day, but if I have you for 2 weeks and I'm on a 1 month minimum agreement and you're booking no appointments, you suck. Like that's not a fair agreement to me either. So don't sign any agreements. The best person to hire would be someone in office and local. That's always going to work the best. Someone that you can hands-on train. And I'm not taking any jabs at anybody, but dude, if English is your first language and you're calling people that English is typically their first language, you're going to have a higher percentage where there's not as big of a communication barrier, dude.
Yeah.
yeah.
So perfect scenario, you instead of an administrative assistant or a recruiter, you just hire an in-person staff that is your dialer, and you can build in commission bonuses for them, have them get licensed, whatever. You can give them incentive to get really, really good. I would have them come in, listen to me for a week, and then role play. Like when we have our gaps in the schedule, like, dude, let's role play so I can practice with you. And then I'm going to have you call, and it wouldn't even have to be a full week. Really, you could do like 2 days, 2 days of straight just phone training on how to get people on the phone and transfer them to me or book them. It's not that hard to do. I can give you one sheet of paper and you can read. You'll be good. Um, but I would love to have somebody in office that I can hold accountable. I can check their dial counts. I can coach them. I can make adjustments real time, and they live where I live. That would be the best case scenario. Dude, I didn't hire a dialer for 4 years. Like I used one for 48 hours. They sucked. I immediately fired them. They're awful. Um, and my patience for like, listen, dude, I got really good on the phone because I made 258,000 phone calls. So like my expectation of how quickly I can fill my calendar versus how quickly someone that doesn't know what they're calling for, dude, it's not
Yeah.
the same. So
Yeah.
part of it was like I was not patient. And the other part was I'm literally giving someone else money to book bad or no appointments. Like I'll just do it myself, dude, whatever. So get someone local that you can hands-on train would be where I would start. And find someone that's, dude, you're not gonna don't pay someone 65 grand a year to be a dialer. That's wild. Give them incentives, I guess, where they could technically earn like 50 or 60, but dude, you're booking appointments. It's not a six-figure gig.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And when you started to build, I know, like you said, you recruited one of your friends in from college, like, and it was pretty tight knit at first, right? I mean, you didn't have a ton of people, but you guys were absolutely crushing it. Like, when did your business really take off? Like, how did you start building it out and recruiting more people and making them stick?
We really got on the same page early. It's always hard to find someone that's mind works relatively similar to yours. You can hire 3,000 people before you find someone that's like, this is the mission, this is the goal. I will literally give up anything and everything and do And by whatever it takes, I mean, like I will relocate across the country away from my newborn to help you build this business, which is what I had in Jake. So, we kind of sat down and we mapped out the US and figured out, hey, where can we plant and build offices and help expand our businesses? So hey, let's go Indiana, Ohio, PA, Kentucky. Like, let's look at those locations because there's such a fat lead flow out there and there's not really any like major office. So, dude, let's just do that. So we sat down, dude, and we were literally like shoulder to shoulder in communication every day with the mission. And I've got it in here somewhere in my office, but I have this big giant 50K or die sign. We made a bunch of t-shirts where, dude, I truly believed, and we bled it into our group, that if you actually want to go out and get 50K a month and just like straight production, I think anybody could do it. I had no doubt that if you truly wanted it and you would plug in and you would do the work and you would invest in yourself, I know you can do 50 if you actually want it. So that's where we had this big 50K or die thing in our group for a while, because we had built such belief through our results and consistency that it, dude, it just bled wide. So that was kind of how it started, was just like, let's just do something crazy, and that's the year that I sold 940, Jake sold 1.3, and we took our team from
Jeez.
300 grand a month in January to 1.4 million in that December. So we grew 460%. We both had our biggest production years. We had like 11 guys over 50K every single month, 3 or 4 dudes over 100. So, dude, we were just cooking production like crazy. Our average per agent was like 16K, and the average in the
Jeez.
companies was like 6,100. So it was just, everything was working really well. Dude, our guys were pouring money out. I mean, dude, their lead spend was no joke. You're not going to have that many people hammering like that and cautious about lead spend. But that's how we were able to build this really good sales culture within, because we were going out to get it, dude. It's a lot easier to go, hey, I know you guys can do 50, because we were doing 100 every month, like in our sleep. So it's a lot easier to go, well, you guys can do half, right? That's the message. Everybody that you bring in will more than likely do half of what you do. So if you're doing 20, then your next tier is doing 10, theirs is doing 5, and then it's 2.5. If we do 100, think about how much bigger producers we can have in depth if we can lead at 100 and then go 50, 25, 12, 5, etc. So that was kind of like our mentality behind the build and scale.
Yeah. Dude, that's nuts. So how many like people were you bringing in to be able to get to that amount of volume?
Not that many. I think the first time we did a million, we did it with like 73 people
Wow.
in total. So we had a relatively small group, but dude, I mean, we just had some monsters. Like these guys they were all in on the model, on the, I mean, they were giving up a lot too, dude. They were traveling around a lot, which is not sustainable forever, in case you guys were wondering. Like, you want to get people home around their kids and family and stuff,
Yeah.
eventually, which is part of the learning curve when you're building stuff. Um, but we are not historically good recruiters. We were better at the sales part. So we would just look for people that were similar to us, and then we would spend all this time figuring out how to get them to 50. And then if we could get them to 50, they could go out and turn that into 75 on their own, and then we could teach their in depth how to do 50. So we had guys like 3 or 4 deep selling 50 grand under some of our teammates, which that's when it was going all ballistic. So I don't know if that kind of answers your question, but that's kind of what we did.
What are
And
you
how
guys
much?
doing now?
Yeah.
So now we were like one of the last people on board to do virtual. Um, I had no interest in doing it at all, to be honest.
Really?
Um, to me, it felt like I was going to have to start over. And I remember what those first 3 months felt like. And I was not willing to do that to myself again. And I was like, I worked so hard to learn how to do this freaking insurance thing face to face. Dude, I'm not starting over again. I'm not going to do that. Which is crazy because it's basically the same stuff, except for now I don't have flights, rental cars, hotels every weekend. So it's a lot
Yeah.
more profitable. And our leads go from $98 to 15. So, it's just like that naive, the tunnel vision, dude, we couldn't get out. Now, if you think about it, with where our spend was and our travel, dude, you can sell 40 grand a month and be more net profitable than we were at 100,
Yeah.
because of like how wild we were getting. And did you start selling 120 grand a month, dude? I was taking first class flights all over the country, because like, what's a couple grand, dude? I knew I was about to go pick up 25. So just like unnecessary expenses coming out. But now we've got a sick system where, I think we're just, it's easier now because we can go, hey, Johnny, if you're coming in on our team, what are you trying to get out of this? Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to sell at a medium to high level? Do you want to kind of do your own thing part-time, be left alone? Like, what do you want? And then we'll build a calendar around, okay, so here's our goal. If this is what you want, my goal is to take you out of the gate. I want to see if we can get you to keep 5. And then over the next 2 months, we would like to move you to keeping 10 to keeping 15. That's our goal. Because that means if you're keeping 15 and you're at like an entry level comp working your way up, you're probably selling like 25 or 30, right? Because that's how it works when you're like working from an 80 to a 90 to a 95, etc. So that's kind of what we do now is go, I'm not focused on having a 50K producer. I want to take you who's been making 3 to 5 grand at your job to like, can you net 5 grand in insurance sales your first month? Because that would basically be what you were making, but now you're in charge of you. And then can we move that needle to that 8 to 10 mark and 10 to 12 and 12 to 15? It's a lot more realistic expectations than we probably had prior. Because when everyone on your team sells 50, it seems weird that you don't assume the next person's going to do that.
Yeah.
Like that's just how it was for a little
Yeah.
while. So now it's a little, and I'm not saying that we're the easiest people to work with out of the gate too, because we're hyper focused on getting people to perform. Because I know if you're selling 50, that you're in a different bracket that you've ever been in, which made me excited for you. But sometimes that's not what you want, and
Yeah.
That was not something I understood early. So
Yeah.
I was always pushing people because I wanted them to win so freaking bad because I was like, this is the most amazing thing for me and my family. I want that for you. They just want to be left alone, dude. And they want to do what they wanted to do.
Mhm.
So yeah, now it's 5, 10, 15. Like I'm focused on how do we get you to net. And then if you are interested in building, like, dude, let's just try to connect with like 1 or 2 guys. I'll train them for you. And if you just want to sell for a few months, all good. Usually when you explain how the building of the insurance model works, where, dude, I can get you, I can help you make an extra like 5 to 10% on some like small, low level overrides. You don't even have to train or teach anybody, dude. I'll do all that stuff for you until you're ready to teach someone. I don't really want you to either, to be honest. I'll help them on your behalf. You get paid to do literally nothing at first besides introduce me to people. So let's get you net profitable and learn. So I'll do all of your training and all of your new guys training until you guys are in a spot where you don't need me anymore, and you guys can do it all for whoever else you want to bring in. If it's just you 3 forever, couldn't be happier for you. That's what we're doing on the like sell to build stuff now.
That's massive. That's massive. Now, how much production are you guys throwing out per month? Like,
It'll vary right between like 1 and 1.3 right now.
and it's all telesales now?
Yes, all telesales.
No.
Sorry, I've been in a battle with the voice box all week. Um, it was a big adjustment for us all to go in field to virtual, and we were a big mortgage team. Like that's what we were doing.
Yeah.
So when that changed, it changed a lot of the style of our business.
Yeah.
So if you've never dialed an internet lead in your life, Austin, and I've had you on direct mail since day one, and it took you 4 hours to book 20 appointments, and now you actually have to do what we like to call harder work and dial internet leads, dude, it changes your perspective on the industry if you've never
Yeah.
actually had to go through that initial grind.
Huge.
And that was a big adjustment, is going from everyone's been calling paper to like, this is what we like to call an internet lead, which that's all that I started out. Dude, I ran Facebook final expense leads for 12 months before I saw a piece of paper. So to me, it was just like, oh, we're just going back to that stuff. I already know how to do 50 on that. No big deal. So it was a big rebound, like 18 months for us as a group, trying to make that big virtual adjustment. And a lot of it came from me directly because I was like, yeah, I'm never doing that, just so you guys know, because it sucks and it's boring. And, not really understanding the scalability and profitability of a virtual team is wild in comparison to infield.
Yeah.
So for like, since you guys moved to telesales, and I know this is probably like a big debate in the entire industry, but like, do you see most of your guys' agency like booking appointments virtually, or are they running one call closes? Like, how does that look?
Dude, we try to push one call closes as much as we can.
Yeah.
Um, think about how much you get no showed in person, with the exception of if you try to no show me, but you're home, dude, I can see you in there, dude. I'll just sit there in your
Yeah.
kitchen window. Like, Carl, I see you at the kitchen. Let me in, you know. But for you, if you don't want to answer the phone, dude, all you have to do is not answer the phone.
Yeah.
So if I get you on the phone, I'm gonna really try to gently press into like, hey, dude, this is super quick. As long as you're not working, or you're like if your wife's around or whatever the situation is. I one call closes, I'm about them all day, all day.
Yeah, that's pretty much, I mean, we've had the same experience, right, with no shows and
Yeah.
everything like that. I mean, one call closes is really kind of the only way to go in this industry nowadays. But yeah, I mean, I always use the simple rule. It's like I don't present to people I can't close. So like if they're at work or if they're driving down the highway, it's like, dude, I just book the appointment. But anytime else, man, I'm closing.
Well, dude, and it's sick. So one thing that we've been adjusting, because the temptation when you have someone that's driving, this is the big one that everybody falls for, is like the guy is not about to pull his wallet out and give you his routing account and driver's license number. Like this
Yeah.
is not, he's not pulling over. So if they're like, oh, dude, I got 30 minutes to drive, like let's just knock this out, dude, I'm going to give them a full screening appointment and take them literally up into the price and then go, hey, awesome, this is literally perfect. Now that I've got all your info, I'm going to spend a little bit of time shopping around and make sure we find the right company. What time did you say you're going to be back at the house settled in? 20 more minutes? Sick. Call you in 20. And you did say the wife's going to be home, right? And then dude, I'm going to literally put them on the edge and then I'm going to take it away and then I'm going to call them in 20 minutes when they're actually home, sat down at a table with a
Yeah.
pen and paper, and I can give them all my stuff.
Dude, I
You
love
got it.
that you actually, because we've trained some agents on this. Man, personally, what I found in the past is that I typically didn't like to go through my full presentation, like if they were in the car or something, because I mean, obviously, life insurance is more of an emotional sale than it is transactional. I found if I went all the way up to that point and then, didn't talk to them again for another 20, 30 minutes, it's like I lost all my momentum on the motion I'd built. And then when I got showing them numbers, 30 minutes later, it just ended up being kind of transactional. Do you revisit some of your
Yeah,
prior
dude.
presentation?
Yeah, and it's the best. The whole like I make decisions without my spouse. Good luck. That's
Yeah.
almost, you're never going to get away with that almost ever. So what I will do is if it's one of those where we do the entire appointment and then we get back on the phone, I don't care if it's just them or if it's them in a spouse situation. I'm going to reopen the entire appointment. Like, okay, quick recap. Johnny, you said you're dead tomorrow. Susan's in charge. Basically, short version is there's not a single scenario she can come up with 10, 20, 30 grand overnight. So I have on here, you were looking for, yeah, just basic funeral stuff, some income replacement maybe. I'm not missing anything. That's basically covering all the. And dude, I'm going to reopen everything that they told me about why they needed it. And it's really powerful when you get the wife back on that missed the entire appointment, because everyone's convinced they're going to sell without the wife there. You're really not. I'll go, okay, hey Susan, just got done talking to Austin, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Same thing. He had mentioned that if he's dead tomorrow, worst case scenario, you don't really have a way, it looks like, with the income discrepancy, between the house and the regular bills. Talk about funeral stuff. Anyway, his huge concern was just to give you some financial stability in case that he's gone tomorrow. So this is what we're looking at, and here's why. And then I'm going to be like very blunt, direct, and to the point when she's on the phone. So she's like, this is a lot going on here. But I want her to know, like, dude, this is really serious. And the reason that Johnny is so concerned is because there's like you and the kids are out of the house. You have no income, you have nowhere to live, no way to feed the kiddos. He's like shitting himself nervous about it. And like, this is stuff that I'll actually talk to clients just like that.
Yeah.
He was expressing how nervous he was and like he doesn't, he's losing some sleep. And I'll kind of make this big scene about it so that she like checks into the appointment of what we're doing. And now it's real and we got all parties on board. And then we'll go into like, so my job is to shop around, find a company, pick a price, and make sure you guys get the green. Sound good? And I'll reopen that structure close statement at that point in time.
That's the perfect word for it. I love that. Like you're just blunt about it.
Yeah.
And I see like it's a trend. Like I love listening to a lot of you guys at FFL. Like a lot of you guys carry that same trend, just like being super blunt and like with it when it needs to be. And dude, it seems to have success. Like I need to implement that in my business for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, dude, just if you ask permission to be honest with somebody, like it's a free for all out here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
if we go through this situation and you try to tell me that you need to think about it, dude, we're about to have a really high level adult conversation about why I care more for your wife than you do, given the circumstance you just told me. This is crazy. It's $110, Mark. Like what a weird thing to say you need time to think about after you just walked me through homeless wife, no kids, and food. Like bizarre. So I I am a lot more polite. I shouldn't say I was ever rude, but my bluntness was an all-time high face to face, be honest. Because I just like I could not leave a house knowing that I was never going to get a call where it was my fault that somebody died without it because I didn't press a little bit. And I wasn't pressing rudely
Yeah.
always, but like,
Yeah.
dude, we're talking about $100 to secure some kind of financial stability, and you smoke, dude. This is about to be a really uncomfortable conversation that you are willing to spend money to kill yourself instead of protect your family because you couldn't swing $100. You spend $350 a month on cigs. Like this is real stuff that people are actually experiencing that we need to have a conversation about with all due respect. If you give
Yeah.
me the permission to be honest.
Yeah, you can definitely like poke and prod like a lot more face to face. When you get switched over to telesales, like how do you think? I'm sure you guys had to tone it down a little bit, right? Like, because it's a lot easier for them to press a red button than it is to like kick you in the ass and push you out the door when you're face to face.
Yes.
Look now, like over the phone, like do you guys tone it down a little bit or using a little bit different word tracks when it comes down to having those hard conversations or?
Some of it's adjusted a little bit. I I think that we do a good job as a group of like I bring my family into these real life situations. So most of the time, especially by the time that I can't remember how young are you guys?
22.
25.
22 and 25. Like have you guys lost any of your friends your age?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, dude.
Yeah.
So everybody has lost somebody that matters and is important to them at some point in their life. And especially, dude, if you're in your 60s and 70s, you're never going to convince me that you're invulnerable now. Like we're way past that. So I will try to like bring my family or my life experiences into this like real situation that we're talking about. Like, dude, listen, Austin, I'm just going to be like as straightforward as I can with you because like I just had to have this conversation with my parents the other day because they were wildly concerned about budget. But if my dad's not around, my mom has nowhere to go. Like my brother's got a family, my sister's got a family, I've got a family, I live out of state. Like, dude, no one's going to be paying for all that stuff. So like it's the same uncomfortable conversation I had to have with my dad. Like, dude, I get that you don't want to spend, and it's never a good time to have an addition like this, but you literally can't afford to not do it. And the last thing that I want to see is you to go through a situation that we have literally lived through where, dude, you think my 21-year-old friend that got cancer for the second time, you think his family was ready for a $250,000 medical bill and a $30,000 funeral? Dude, he was 21. Of course they weren't. You are 65 and in good health now. Like, why are you willing to put this off and put her in a situation where she could be at such risk, or whatever the situation is? But I will go through and try to just relay it like, this is my experience. This is what I've seen. I don't want you to go through that. I want to set you up the same way I did my own parents. I don't want you to overspend, but dude, we can't dance around the fact that like you got to have this. It's not a negotiation. I just need to figure out which one you want to do. And I'm like passionately guiding them, and here's why I want you guys to do it and why it's important to me and why you told me it was important to you. So like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
And that's kind of
Yeah.
like more of my telesales game.
That's
It
really
goes
good.
back to the basics, man. It's like it's just making it real. Like you have to make it real in any insurance sales or else they don't buy it. It's like I mean for the majority of the products, I mean life insurance is like it's a non-tangible product. Like they're going to pay into it their whole life and they're never going to see it. So you have to make that situation that could possibly happen real in order to make the sale. And
Yeah.
if you don't learn to do that, man, I mean, probably won't have much success. So I'd
Yeah, it's
focus on
Dude,
huge.
do you know what's insane is how many of our clients have never had the conversation with each other. Like, dude, have you guys talked about like Mark, if you go tomorrow, have you guys talked about like where long term, like where you want the wife to live? I mean, obviously, respectfully, she's not staying here. So like, have you guys talked about what the next 6 to 12 months is going to look like between you two? And then you just sit and you state and wait and let them kind of like wiggle on the phone a little bit. And they're like, well, not we got kids. Like, awesome. Have you talked to the child and your son about mom relocating at 68 into a house full of kids or whatever? Like, have you guys talked to them about like, hey, you're going to sell the house and move in with the kids? Like, what did they think about that situation? Because love my parents, dude. I'm not super jacked to have either one of them just like move into my home. I'd
Yeah.
rather put them in a home. I mean, sorry, mom, love you.
Yeah.
Hopefully she doesn't
Yeah,
see
that's
this.
good. Dude, this is super good. And especially like being able to build and be able to produce at a super high level, which is awesome. I guess as we wrap up here, like what would your advice be to a newer agent, or an agent that's not that wants to be in your position, but just is struggling, man. They're stuck in that first 10 weeks that you're in. What would your advice be to them?
Well, dude, you just have to pair up a schedule and build in skill set development into your routine. This like, dude, I haven't gotten up at 3:30 my whole life. Like it started at 5 and then 4:30 and then 4 and then for whatever reason in January, I just was like, whatever, let's do something insane for a few months and see how long I can hang. Um, but instead of like being focused on, and this is Zach and I talked about this a lot, like we were definitely in our skinny fat. I mean, he was like actually kind of fat, no offense. But we were not, the health was not primary concern number one. I wanted to know how to make money and then what did my calendar need to be to go. Like, I was getting up at 4 o'clock to listen to training for 3 hours, dude. That's what I was doing the first 3 hours of my day is listening to different skill set development. Dude, there's what, hundreds of thousands of insurance sales training on YouTube, dude. And how many of those guys do 20, 30, 40, 50 plus? It's all over the place from tons of different companies.
Yeah.
So just find somebody that's executing and then, hey, this is who I fit with the like for me, it was like Matt Smith. I really loved his speech patterns and process. So I tried to steal a bunch of stuff from that dude. I can't sell like Steve G, dude. We're so different. Our personalities would never mesh ever, never the same. And he's a freaking animal, but we don't sell the same way. So I want to find someone that I identify with and then go, okay, what's one thing or two things that I can add today? And then once I got those two things down, record myself, listen to it again, and then call someone in charge of you. Like, who do you work with that sells a lot? Call them. Hey, can you listen to this for 5 minutes? What did I miss? Can you listen to this entire appointment? What did I miss? And just let somebody listen to you. And then if they give you a 5-page dissertation on what you can change, dude, well, again, one or two things. Like, and you're going to suck a little bit in the beginning because it's new. One or two things that you can implement. It has to match a good schedule, dude. If you do 12 hours a week, like just get a job because you're going to go crazy and hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Good calendar, good skill set development, reaching out to good mentorship for help from someone who's good at the job.
It's huge, bro. Love it, dude. Well, where can people reach out to you and if they want to possibly work with you or just like get training from you?
I think it's just Easton Padden on Instagram. You guys can DM me whenever. We're pretty wide open on what we're doing on a regular basis, so I'm more than happy to link up with anybody. Direct sales 406-860-4882 if you guys want to text or call me. That is literally my direct line. So whatever you guys need, but be more than happy to jump on with anyone.
Let's go. Well, if you
Oh,
guys haven't already, subscribe right now to the channel and go check out our other podcasts that we've done with big guests just like Easton. So thanks guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.